What's up, everybody? Welcome back to my channel. It's 808 time. It's the idiot Steve. If you guys haven't heard it yet, if you do put on my what is it called, the auto captions on my videos, it's going to translate my name 808 State into the idiot Steve from the big island of Hawaii. So yeah, I have a special guest today. Ed Ricker is going to be joining me. He's actually already in the background in the back studio. And yeah, I'm just checking if my audio is good. I see him in the chat already. I see Jaren over there. I see Hot Rod over there. Welcome back, everybody. Thank you guys so much for coming. If you guys haven't seen it yet, I posted a link. I'm going to post it again. A link for Ed's channel. Go check it out. It's pretty much FPV oriented. He has a lot of FPV stuff inside there. Also flies GPS quads, and I'm going to ask him some questions about that today. And yeah, without further ado, I would just say we'll just pull him in. And here we go.
Hey.
What's up, Ed? How you doing, my man?
Good. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. Great.
Awesome. I can hear you too. I like your headset, by the way.
Oh, thanks. It's my old school gaming headset. It's like the Logitech G1, one of the first.
Okay, interesting. I just bought one recently. I'm going through a bit of a Call of Duty kick, and so I got one. It's actually right here. I was thinking I saw you in your previous live streams. I thought maybe I should wear mine too, but I thought, yeah, let's keep it simple. Anyway, yeah.
Thanks for coming. I appreciate it. I actually just watched the other day your Caught by the Hawk video and all those special things that happened during the. I mean, it's amazing seeing the FPV going through a freaking basketball loop, man. That's like, what the hell?
Backwards, no less. Yeah.
Yeah. So, besides that, after I looked it up a little bit more, you did acting for a while. Are you still doing acting?
Oh, you found some of my old videos, huh? Yeah. I haven't done acting probably since 2016, maybe. That was the last time I had an agent anyway. I briefly did a few commercials and stuff since then. I do like voiceover work and I do a few other things, but yeah, not really anything where I'm auditioning. Back 7-8 years ago, I was heavy into the audition game and into the rejection game and going home, driving 6 hours to Atlanta for a 30-second audition and then driving 6 hours back. It got a little tiresome. So I ended up doing YouTube, and now I can make my own videos, and I can say when they're done. I don't have a producer, or a director. I'm the one who's uploading and saying when it's finished.
Right. That's right. So I seen you. Did you start with quads or did you start with FPVs? What was first?
Okay. So when we're talking about how we start with YouTube, okay,
yeah, that's fine.
February 2016 was when I first started YouTube to any great degree, to any really determined degree, and that was just daily vlogging. I had some cameras. I was a videographer. I was working at a university at the time, but I didn't actually have a drone until later that year. I'd say around Christmas time, 2016. That was when I first got the Mavic Pro, and that was when a lot of people were getting the Mavic Pro. It was a really hot item. It was the most popular one. A lot of people were having trouble getting it, if you recall. Back then, DJI didn't, I don't know if they didn't produce enough or they didn't have enough going to these, the stores and everything, but either way, it was hard to track down one at the time.
Maybe it was the pre-COVID-19 phase.
That might be it. Yeah. Well, then they got practice, right? So then I got that, and that was the first time that my videos actually started doing well. I struggled to get 300 subscribers. It took me from February until the end of that year to get 300 subscribers. And I was really trying. But then as soon as I made that first Mavic video, I jumped up to 1,000 in a week. And I'm like, oh, now finally found both my passion, because I was interested, I was having fun, but also my audience. And so I've just kind of hit drones hard ever since. I do a few other things too, and I've seen your channel, by the way. you started doing, looks like motorcycles back in the day. And then you started kind of branching out, and now you're doing Autel videos, and you're actually doing a lot of Autel videos, which is awesome. I wish I had my hands on an Evo too, but it looks like you're hitting that hard. So yeah, you just got to find your market, find your passion, and hit the ground running. It's awesome.
Yeah, mine's one started off with just filming. I had a small, tiny, it was small like this, like a tiny handheld camera that you usually take pictures with, but it had a function. So 5 million mods and zip ties, I figured out how to mount it onto my motorcycle, and then I started out doing wheelies and racing and going fast, and I just
Mhm.
uploaded that. And then after a while, I was like, okay, I got myself one action camera. My wife got me an action camera, and from there, it just went more. By the time that it almost was about to kick off, my brother died. He died in a
Mm.
motorcycle accident. I filmed it, and for some reason, the footage was unusable that day. So
Mm.
I just quit. And for a long time, I never touched YouTube, but I kept the channel just as a reminder because he's in it. So when
Right.
I finally decided, hey, I want to do some YouTube stuff, but different from what I used to do, and I saw I saw Ken from Original Dobo, and I
Mhm.
saw somebody else who was making a drone video, and I saw all this footage, and I was like, this looks great. I need something like that.
Yeah.
So of course I got to get past my wife first with the
Uh-huh.
expenses of a drone,
I
and
can
I
imagine.
saw all this DJI stuff, and I saw so many things with DJI geofencing, and when I looked up the air charts, because I also looked into 107s, and then I was like, oh, there's like so many no-fly zones in Hawaii. It's
Oh,
so bad.
really?
Yeah,
Wow.
because we
Yeah, I
have
can imagine
airports
you
here,
got.
5 mile radius, another airport there, 5 mile radius, and it's like national
Okay. It
parks.
makes sense.
And I was like, oh, I gotta find something else. So I found at first the Parrot and Offie, and I loved the damn thing. It was so great, and it's just, I mean, 1,000 flights almost with it. And
Wow.
then I finally told my wife, I gotta upgrade the sensor. I gotta get something better. And I was looking into the DJI Inspire, and I was like, that's so expensive. The Inspire 2 is like 20K, and I was like,
Mhm.
that's like a car.
Oh, yeah.
I cannot do that. And then
That's crazy.
for a long time, I seen the announcement for this bad boy, and one day I just came and I told my wife, I was like, hey, I would like to make videos about this. Can I pick it up, please?
Yeah, exactly.
And boom, it
Yeah.
just hit it. And then this whole COVID stuff kicked off, and the delay was like, because it was supposed to come out at the end of February, I believe. And
Right.
then from there, it was not until June until we received it.
Wow.
Finally got it, and here I am just banging out videos because I love flying with it. I'm clocking almost 800 flights with it, and I got almost 1,000 miles on it. So it's great. I mean, I love it.
That's awesome. Yeah, very good. By the way, I also have to compliment you on your studio you have there. Mine's looking a little plain at the moment, but I do have a bit of a party that I could just kind of hold over here. We got the
Yes,
different
sir.
rainbow colors. That's the best as I can do. This is just like my living room. I have some stuff upstairs where I do some of my videos, but it's not really designed for live stream or connectivity to internet and computer. I could bring my laptop right there, I guess, but this is where I am. So yeah, this is as good as we're gonna get. Just this nice light.
Hey,
But anyway, no, I
I'm just
like
happy
your
you're here,
studio.
man.
I
I
like your studio. That's awesome.
appreciate it. I mean, you hit what 140,000 right now in subscribers, almost 150.
Yeah, I'm about to hit 150. It's coming up here. It's maybe slowed down a little bit, but you know how you have your peaks and your valleys throughout the year. You kind of see their dips and their peaks in terms of viewership. And as we get closer to Christmas, man, our channels go way back up because we're involved with a lot of tech that a lot of people are buying for Christmas, or looking at, and if they get something like if they get the Autel Evo 2 or the Parrot and Alfie or whatever, they're looking up videos on how to do things, how to use it, tutorials, or what. I mean, I'm on your channel now. You got tutorials too. So people are looking for that kind of content, especially around Christmas, but also different other times of the year. So yeah, always looking forward to the end of the year boost to channels.
So FPV, what got you into FPV?
Well, so I was into drones already, and then a company called Banggood.com, China-based company, supplier who has lots of different types of drones. Among other things, they work with the company Eachine. In fact, they might have a deeper partnership than just working with. I'm not entirely sure the depth of that. Either way, representative from Banggood asked if I wanted to try a racing drone, and I had heard of racing drones in the past. And I remember some people in YouTube saying, "Ed, if you get in racing drones, you'll never go back, or you'll get so sucked in." And then that kind of made me nervous. I'm like, well, I kind of have to plan my hobbies, because I know I get sucked in. I have like about a 3 or 4 month rotation of hobbies. It seems like I hit something really hard and I get obsessed, and then I move on. And I'm like, I'm not sure if I'm ready at the moment to start investing money because I mean they were going to send me something to review, but at the same time I knew how it was going to go. I know myself. I'd start buying things and getting all techie about it. Finally, I just said, yeah, go ahead and send it to me, and I did a video review, and it's a rough video now that I look back because of what I know now. I was trying to appear like I knew a lot more than I did. And I was actually looking at other YouTube videos about the same drone, the same Eachine X220 Wizard, just to kind of get insight into what they were talking about and some of the talking points that they had. So I knew, okay, now I know what angles to hit with my video review. I kind of cheated. But anyway, I liked it so much that, yeah, I started doing a lot more with FPV than with GPS intelligent, flight drones like that. I still do drones like DJI GPS assisted intelligent drones. In fact, I just finished an edit for DJI Mavic Air 2 filter video. I'm hoping that's going to come out tomorrow, but I'm not entirely sure. Maybe this coming week. I'm not sure. But so I'm still doing some content, and I can't completely ignore that whole side of things because a lot of people have subscribed for that. But if it's a weekend and I have a say in what I'm going to do, and I want to go out and have some fun, more than likely I'm going to pick up an FPV drone as opposed to GPS, DJI, intelligent, flight mode drone like that.
So I've seen in your videos that you used to use the Session 5, you went to Hero GoPro 8.
Yes.
And just now they dropped the Hero GoPro 9. What?
Yeah, and the trend is they're getting bigger. So Session 5, that's the smallest. That's the Cube, and that's nothing really gets smaller than that. And there's different companies who are kind of mimicking that form factor of a GoPro. But GoPro has actually discontinued the Session 5 or the Session line entirely. So it would be great to see a Session 8 or a Session 9, but I really doubt it's going to happen. But yeah, we had the GoPro Hero 7 Black come out, and I was rocking that for a little while. And then the Hero 8 Black, which works with RealSteady. RealSteady is a software. Are you aware? RealSteady Go? Yeah. So, and for those who don't know, it's a way to, in post-production on your computer, stabilize your footage as opposed to in-camera GoPro stabilization that it does in its own little brain. It's a way for you to kind of control it in post-production, how smooth and the parameters of stability with RealSteady Go. So that's pretty cool. But yeah, now the 9 just dropped, and why the 8 is bigger than the 7, the 9 is bigger than the 8. So it's getting heavier, it's getting bigger. And at some point, I'm not sure what the 10 is going to look like, but either way, people are deconstructing these GoPros. They're taking off the manufacturer's housing and kind of putting on their own either carbon fiber or just going like naked GoPro, where it's really, you can actually see the circuitry in the motherboard just to conserve weight. And then they can use it on these small drones. And that's what people might start doing with the 9. They were definitely doing with the 8, and they were doing it with the 6 and the 7. So yeah, as GoPros get bigger, that's a concern, is weight and size. And, I think the FPV market is not big enough to really cause GoPro to redesign these things for us. We're just not that big of a voice. The other thing is we go through a lot of them. When I crash and I damage a GoPro, like I smack into concrete going 90, 100 miles an hour, GoPros aren't designed for that. They're designed for maybe snowboarders going, 40, 50 down a wintry slope, or maybe skateboarders going, 20, 30. You might have some longboarders going really fast on concrete, but either way, you're not really getting the high impact that FPV flight might, cause on a GoPro. So we go through a lot of them, and we go through replacement plans. We have like GoPro Plus, or we have Best Buy replacement plans. So we're able to kind of game the system a little bit. So I think as an FPV pilot or operator, some people wouldn't call us pilots, we go through more GoPros than the average consumer. And maybe we're not a great one for the business model.
Especially when it gets picked up by a hawk.
Yeah, exactly. Yes, you saw that one too.
Yeah, or ends up in like 60-foot trees, and it's like, okay, I'm gonna get this out.
and the one that was caught up in 60 foot up in the tree, that was a Hero Session 5, and they're getting more expensive now. They're used, you can buy them used on eBay, but they're getting more expensive because they're no longer being manufactured. And since they're small, we all love them. So I mean, in a year or two, they're going to double in price. Even a used one, they're going to be worth their weight in gold eventually.
Yeah, most likely.
Yeah. So
So
I saw you brought some comments up. Yeah. So you were going through some comments. Tell me how this works.
yeah, I just followed through. We get drone worship in here. He ended up in a hospital just recently, had a surgery.
Oh, wow.
Hope you're doing better.
Yeah.
Hot Rod said, I think FPV is like the people that do X Games. It's a limited audience that will ever do it.
Hmm. That's true.
True, it's true. I mean, FPV in itself, because I'm so much into this GPS quad, and I think it's so awesome to just see how you can reveal stuff. It's just with the Paradanafi, when I was going through small things, it just was so much nicer to see obstacles appear, especially when you do a pullback shot and you have all these obstacles appear. It just
Hmm.
binds the audience because they're like, oh, what's going to come next? Now, with FPV, on the other hand, after watching Original Dobo, after watching all these people that random, they all starting to go we're over into this FPV thing. And the more I watch the footage, and now with this hyper smooth or the real steady, like you said it, the more I see it in there, and I'm like, oh, this looks nice. So you get more and more sucked into just the footage in itself already.
Hmm.
And I actually tried the other day. There was a simulator that somebody sent me a link to, and they had a hookup for the PS4 controller. So I
Okay.
just tried it, and I think I crashed 100 times within an hour.
I believe it, man. I probably crashed that many times in an hour on a simulator. You know, there's no penalty. I mean, you're not replacing things. You're not spending money. So why not? Do you know what simulator it was? Liftoff,
Lift
Velocidrone,
off, lift
DRL,
off,
DC. Okay,
lift off,
Liftoff.
lift off.
That's a good one. It's got a lot of good maps. The graphics are pretty good. It's a good multiplayer system too. If you ever play multiplayer, you get people on there and you can tune into each other. If you get someone, I think most of these do have a multiplayer option, but I think Liftoff has a great community
So
on
after
there.
switching off from your GPS quadding to FPV, starting with that, now with the goggles, I see you chasing wings. Like I lose the wing already watching your video. I'm like, how do you keep track of that?
Well, usually he's standing right here and we're talking back and forth. And so he's saying, I'm going to take a right around this obstacle and then I'm going to go through. I saw your comment. Yeah, going through that building. So more than likely we're communicating. And then on top of that, I mean, I do lose the person on occasion. I just edit those points out. You know, I mean, why not? Unless it's an unbroken flight from start to finish. That's impressive. But yeah, I do a lot of editing too. So you know how that is.
Yeah, I saw the first flight going through the building, and I seen you going outside, and I was like, guarantee he's gonna go. You gonna
Yeah.
go through that again? I'm gonna follow you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you know,
And
and I think it's more difficult for the wing to do it because when you're in there, of course, he's more dependent on aerodynamics. And so it kind of is a wind tunnel going through there. He might have more issue actually making it through, but because he's mostly foam and light material, if he hits the window or the side, he probably won't damage the building. And I don't mind damaging my drone too much. I do it all the time. I'm more concerned about damaging property. So I got to be careful because if I miss, I'm going straight through that glass with my heavy carbon fiber and my GoPro sticking out the front. You know, it's just a hard object going quick. And I'm sure he could still cause damage if he hit it the right way. But either way, I just got to make sure, you know, when you're going that fast, you don't want to be too risky. You want to make sure that you eye it a few times. And yeah, I let him go through a few times before I made my move.
yeah, so if somebody would start FPV, what would be your setup to recommend to start off with?
You know, and I was just talking to someone about this. A good way, well, you started the best way. You started with a simulator and you got your first 100 crashes out of the way for free, except for the price of the simulator. Um, Once you get going, it might be cool, especially because now if you're in the northern hemisphere, it's going to get cooler. You may not even want to be out if it's cold and you're up north. Um, get a little whoop, you know, one of those tiny whoops and fly inside your house. Start there or fly around your house. You can even sit inside your house and fly around your house. You know, you don't have to go big and crazy. I fly a 5-inch quad for the most part, and that's best for outside. I actually wouldn't even dare flying it indoors. But to start small and in something that's crashable with ducts, you know, or at least prop guards. So if you bounce off your car, you bounce off the wall, you're not going to damage much. That's probably the best way to start. And then you mentioned I think you said a PlayStation controller. That's how you started with simulator. Eventually, hopefully, you can get at least a solid radio so you can practice with something that you could eventually bind also to these real life drones. And that way it feels the same. You know, you're playing a flight simulator with the same radio that you eventually would transition to, you know, flying in a real environment. And that's probably the best way to go. Some people say build your own to start with. And I think that's a great way to learn, but it's also, I think, frustrating. It's easier for someone to say that who's already been in the hobby. If I were to have built my first drone, I would have gotten frustrated and said, it's not worth it, and just quit. I don't think I would have been the person who, without having experienced that adrenaline and that real experience first, would have stayed with it through the build and troubleshoot process. And then, you know, I have nothing against ready to fly FPV drones, you know, or bind and fly.
Ron just said, fly a drone in the house means equal divorce.
Especially if someone has long hair in the house and you get that
Oh,
tangled
yeah.
up. Yeah.
I
Been a
got
few times.
the first time I flew my Paradigm Offie and my wife came home, I actually banged her in the back of the head with it.
Oh, wow.
Because I wanted to do a follow shot and she just
Yeah.
stopped. And I'm like,
Okay.
"Ding." So
Yeah.
she had long hair, but lucky thing it never got tangled up because the
Right.
drone just went into that shut off mode. And I was like, oh my God. And she was like, what the hell is wrong with you?
There's some crazy videos and pictures of people, especially like other kids too, who are just looking at the camera like, and their hair is like all caught up in this little drone. It's hilarious.
So, from your experience, since all this evolution of FPVs going on, what do you prefer, analog, digital?
Oh yeah, digital, I would say for the most part. Sometimes, well, here's a situation that I find myself in sometimes. I'm out at the park and I'm flying with guys who I've known for years, and they might still have the analog system. And I have my digital suite, you know, current 2020, you know, system, and I start blowing them out of the sky because my digital is stepping on their analog video feed. And that's not great. That's not a great way to play with others, you know? So there have been times where I've brought out my analog system, not only just for old time's sake, but also to play well with those around me. And that's just a benefit of me having both. But if I were to start today with FPV, I would go digital right away. I don't think FPV is something that a new pilot would. I mean, they could. I'm not saying they shouldn't do it, but I'm saying it's just old technology. There are new FPV technology and components coming out all the time, analog FPV technology, but digital is where it's at. And from here on, hopefully other companies will start competing with DJI. Fat Shark was trying, and I think they're doing their best, but DJI has the R&D and some of the development that's already taken place to just be so many miles ahead of anything else with FPV right now. So yeah, I'd say start out with digital, and see how you like it.
Drone Worship says digital takes all the challenge out of it, makes it not fun. I kind of like all the breakup it makes more of a video game.
Well,
Okay,
if you like the breakup, if you like your system going all haywire when you fly around the building, I mean that's cool. I think that digital FPV has some latency issues. So if you go around a building, you might feel like, oh, things are a little out of sync here, but you pop around the building, you're fine. The same situation, FPV would turn to snow or at least partial snow. So do you want your video to break up to the point of you not being able to see things, or do you want a little bit of added latency that may cause you to be a little short on the reaction time? So I think another thing, and maybe this is sort of what he's talking about, digital's so clear, excuse me, that you can see every little detail. You can see the grass, you can see the bricks on the building, you can see the ripples on the water, you can see and the concrete and everything, you know. I think it makes you maybe a little bit more aware that if you crash this drone, it's going to cost you some money. I think maybe with analog, you can get lost in the experience. It looks like an old VHS tape. You can kind of set yourself apart from reality and get in the moment a little bit more. So maybe that's what he's talking about. But in terms of, you know, I have both, and I will always bring out digital if I can help it. Now, if you're in a race situation with many different people and you'll have to be at 25 milliwatt and you're you know, going through all the race bands and everything, there is value to analog. But in terms of if you're flying alone or maybe with one other friend, maybe two other friends, I think digital is awesome.
So
Especially, by
since
the
you
way, with the new firmware. There's new firmware coming out all the time, and if you've tried DJI last year at this time, well, try it again, because we have twice the bit rate, for video feed. We have a lot of different upgrades to the system just from firmware alone, as well as all these other little add-ons that people have invented or researched and developed.
so with FPV versus quad get the 107, you can make more money off of it. FPV harder to make money. I don't know. You get gigs that make money.
Well, I've gotten a couple, but yeah, I've gotten many more. Like if you're doing real estate, you can definitely incorporate FPV into it. And you mentioned Original Dobo, Ken Dono. He's a great example of someone who's able to work with both, the normal GPS intelligent drones as well as FPV for real estate. What he'll do is he'll get the shot inside, and maybe he's just using a stabilizer, maybe he's doing something else with a handheld camera, but if he's showcasing the area around, especially if it's a expensive house, really dynamic environment, he's flying his FPV quad with the GoPro through all the grounds and everything along the fence, along maybe if it has a lake, and he creates a really cool thing. And Ken's, I'm not sure how long he's been flying, but it seems to me that he was starting around February. Maybe he was flying a little earlier than that, but he's been flying less than a year, and he's already putting out professional, product. And I think he does more professional and paid stuff for FPV than I do. So it doesn't take you too long, but it does. There's a lot of practice to get up to that point, and he has practiced a lot. So I think with maybe a DJI Mavic that hovers on its own and has these quick shots and these flight modes and tap to fly and draw all these waypoints and everything, I think it's easier for a beginner to start with that. But I think the finished product could be more impressive with FPV if you get a little creative. And I think also you can force FPV into a project and it doesn't belong. And I've seen some FPV flights where I think, man, you're too much. The FPV flight should never. If you're flying for a reason like that, I don't think you should be showcasing your own skills. I think you should be showcasing the subject and flying appropriately. And if you start doing your flips and your rolls and your power loops, sometimes it can be a little distracting. So that's
the
my
one
take.
thing, the one thing that I've seen, what really impressed me about everything. I mean, we all know Sam Calder, and I watched his best shots of drones in 2019.
Mhm.
The mix out of GPS quads and FPV was just insane. Just I don't know how, but it looks freaking great. I mean, he travels all over the world and he does his thing, but
I think I got it right here. Yeah, so it's like 2.6 million views. Yeah, that's pretty awesome. I remember seeing this before, but I'm reminded of it again. He does a
yeah,
lot of, I guess, this reverse shots too, where he's reversing the footage, and that's kind of is a bit of a mind bender as well.
yeah. Then
So
he
yeah,
he just masks out the stuff and he comes out of the tent and then he leaves the
yeah.
old scenery behind, goes into a new scenery, and it's like, what the hell? So I mean,
Mhm.
there's a lot of good footage in there. So that's the reason why I was inclined to look into FPV. The problem is just for me is the cost factor.
Mhm.
It's like if it doesn't pay for itself at this point,
Yeah.
based on that I'm juggling around kids, full-time job, YouTube videos, tutorials, and all that stuff. If it doesn't sort of kind of like help itself out, I'm not going to be able to support it for long term. And just like you, I'm pretty much like if I get drawn into something, I'm gonna be sticking with it hard. Like I only
Mhm.
wanted to make like 4 or 5 videos of this drone. I ended up with what 20 videos already, and
Yeah.
I'm still pumping out more. This Sunday, tomorrow, I'm gonna be popping out the accessory video. Finally, some
Okay.
accessories took almost 6 weeks to come in, so
Wow.
finally I got them all, and I'm gonna include everything. Plus, one of my viewers, which is Pocho on the Loose, sent me a lift order and he wants me to give it away. So I will be reviewing the Liftor mount
Yeah.
together with the Skyfire aerial, which I also get sent, and I will give that away as well. And yeah, so I mean, droning, I tell you, man.
I see you do some giveaways, and that's awesome. I'm glad that you're able to support the community and give back and create
Oh,
some
I love
excitement
giving back.
about it.
I'm not a greedy guy. You know what I mean? I don't need to make a killing. As long as I have people that I can share my experiences with, and I actually have learned so much because people have commented on my stuff, people have contacted me via email, people have contacted me via Facebook, and like literally, like I getting messages left and right, and sometimes it's hard to answer all of them because I'm at work or I'm whatever, and then I come take my break and I look, oh, okay, and then I answer the question. But I have learned so much from the community. So whatever company is sending me, hey, I'll give it all. I don't really mind. You know what I mean? It's just
That's awesome. That is
yeah.
good. I got to remember to do that. And you remind me that that's something maybe I did in the past and I haven't done recently. I think my last thing that I gave away was a DJI Mavic Mini, and it was because I bought one. Well, I wasn't sent one, so I was trying to scramble to get one. And then when I bought one, it was saying it was going to take like 2 weeks. And I thought, oh, I really need to get this video out. So then I bought it from, I think I bought one from maybe DJI, and then I bought the other one from Best Buy. And I was like, whichever one gets here first, I'm spitting out the video. And they both came within a very short amount of time of each other. So I realized I had two, and I thought, well, maybe I'll just give away one. I mean, I was going to return it, but I think, at that point, it's like, yeah, would you like to get a couple $100 back, or would you like to maybe drum up some excitement and support your community and see how that might take off? And to be honest, it was a great decision on my part to do that, because the video blew up that I was giving away the product on. And yeah, it was something that I was really happy that I was able to do. And again, it's not like I'm only happy about it because it took off and got me a lot of subscribers and stuff at the time. It was more just also because it was exciting. And the person who won, didn't have a drone and was really excited to get it and to shoot video with his brother. And he created a YouTube channel, and it was great to see him use it in the future. Very rewarding.
Oh, that's awesome. I like that. I sent a message to Autel, and I asked them actually because I'm doing so many videos on the E2 Pro, so I was hoping that they're gonna send me one or just give it. But they haven't answered me yet, so
They haven't answered me either. Don't worry.
we'll see how it goes. And so far I'm pretty blessed because Ken from Original Dough will send me free filters because I couldn't
Cool.
afford them at that time, and I ended up in his live stream, and then he just was generous enough to just send them.
Yeah.
I have yet to try and send him some goods his way. I got them returned like 3 times already because the bottle broke.
Oh, no way. Wow.
So, and I'm like, oh, so now I'm gonna be making a wooden box for it, and I'm gonna styrofoam it out, and I put it inside, and then I'll send it out.
I was just looking on Instagram recently. So he and Kelly of Ready Set Drone and a bunch of other people, I think probably 50 or 60 people, were at Spin Down event in Colorado today. And I wasn't able to go, unfortunately. I had some work to do, but they're all having a great old time. And I saw some of their Instagram posts and some of the live feeds that they were doing. So they're having a great old time. Do you ever go to events like that?
I can't. I'm in Hawaii. We're like 2,500 miles away across the ocean. Like I said, I have family. I get work. You know what I mean? It's hard to juggle all that.
Yeah.
I know.
I got you.
For me,
it is a
long
flight.
Yeah, for me right now, it's going to be hard with this whole COVID stuff. We cannot even travel into Ireland without quarantine for 14 days.
So you'd have to wait. Okay.
Yeah, I gotta wait. If I come back from the mainland, then my job is going to tell me, oh, you got to stay home for 14 days, but that's on you. So that's another time that I got to put in. And like I said, Hawaii's hard. I mean, it's expensive to live here, and you got to have, income somehow. So definitely.
Hope to see you maybe next year. And hopefully we have these things, Ready Set Drone, Kelly, he's been great at these events, putting these on. And then this year he's worked with Sean Oliver. And I think that's one of the reasons why it is in Dillon, Colorado this time, is because Sean really pushed for that. Of course, they did their virtual event. I think, was it 2 weeks ago? And that was pretty cool too, to see him. And, it's again, a great thing to see Kelly both do a great live event, but also like live in-person event, but also a great live stream with all those people there. Very cool.
I know. I see. I mean, I only know all you guys through just YouTube. Like the community is so big, and just going through everything. I'm just watching everybody's channel, and I'm just picking up slowly, but a little bit here, a little bit there, and I just try to communicate, and I try to watch as many videos as I can. So besides the job, besides the family, besides making my own videos, besides uploading, besides answering questions, I still try to be in everybody else's life a little bit, and just
Hmm.
because I just like the way they are with each other. You know what I
Hmm.
mean? It's just like when I watched that minefield run that Ken did with Ken Herring, and they were in that minefield, had that huge
Oh yeah.
freaking building. They was flying the FPV stuff through. I mean, it looks amazing. It's like crazy. I mean, if you just go for like GPS quadding together with each other, I think it's better just go with a buddy, whatever. But the FPV stuff, chasing each other, I think that's going to be pretty cool.
Yeah, that was a great. Again, I didn't go to that one either, but it looked like a great event. They had the hotel right nearby, and I was looking at hotel prices, and I was thinking about it. But yeah, that immediate hotel. It's like if you got one of those rooms, you could literally just fly out your window, and then do all that stuff with the minefield art project there without even leaving your hotel room. It was so cool that was all self-contained, and it looked cool
Yeah.
too. So
So when you use your radio for FPV and stuff, what is the range on that? I mean, for me, for somebody who did not ever do FPV, never
mhm.
really look into the close details. For me, FPV is just simply, it's a tiny drone with a
Yeah.
huge camera on top that is going to fly around. But for me, it's just like the range is like from here to the end of my lot, like the
Mm.
1 acre. And then I see guys going like miles and miles out, and it's like, I thought the battery is only like 5 minutes.
5 minutes, but if you're hauling, I mean, you can cover a lot of ground. Some of those long range quads can have much longer battery life and much longer range, and a lot of that is both video transmission power, milliwatt power, even into higher, like maybe a couple watts. Some people are running, or also your transmitter. So that's going to be different. Now, a lot of people run. I think the most popular is 5.8 gigahertz video, frequency. But then your radio, a lot of people who start out, they might start with 2.8 or 2.4 gigahertz. As you might progress, or if you start out, if you're lucky enough to start this out, a certain way, you start out with Crossfire Link, which would be 915 megahertz, which is so lower in frequency, but it covers more range
Oh,
and
okay.
better penetration. So honestly, I rarely have a transmission, a radio transmission failsafe where I lose signal. Usually the video is first to go, and that's probably best anyway. I would rather lose video first, or start to see the video breakup that's warning me, hey, you're almost at the range limit before my control link goes. And that's also a reason why some people like to run normal, like a Tyrannus or a Free Sky radio of some sort, or maybe another type of more standard FPV radio, as opposed to the DJI FPV radio, which is linked to that video broadcast. So if you're using DJI digital video, digital FPV, and you're using the DJI transmitter along with the DJI goggles, it's all one system. And if that system breaks, it all goes. As opposed to if you have two different systems with two different types of transmission and frequencies, one could go and the other might stay up, and then you might be able to get out of your predicament. Maybe the chance is there, depending on what happens. So a case is when I was on the roof, stuck on the roof with the Hawk. And for those who are unaware of what's going on when I'm saying that, my last video that I uploaded, I crashed on a roof, and a Hawk was keeping me down. It was like pecking at me. It was apparently watching me fly that entire day. And then as soon as I crashed on the roof, it took its opportunity and just landed on me and started pecking at me. And I saw him in my FPV feed. Well, here's the thing. I use Crossfire, 915 megahertz for my transmitter. I use DJI FPV for my goggles, 5.8 gigahertz. DJI overheated on the hot roof because it was either late August, maybe early September. Hot roof, midday. DJI overheated, lost video, but I was still able to wiggle my way off with my radio because it was different protocol, different transmission. So even though DJI overheated, I was able to flip myself over, inch myself off with two of my 4 good motors, and finally get off the roof. And if it was all a self-contained thing, I would have had to get on somebody's vehicle, get on my friend's Jeep, and then climb my way up to the roof and grab it, because there's
Yeah, I
no
mean,
other
the,
way.
the
Really.
hawk never even budged, even though you was yelling at him.
Can I admit something to you? I got to admit something. That
Uh,
sound, that yelling, is not my voice. It's
oh,
nobody's voice. It's a sound effect I found online. We were yelling at it for sure, but the GoPro didn't. So I was like, okay,
okay.
I'm not really lying. I really was yelling at it, but I found some sound effect to supplement that and create a
Okay.
better experience on
I thought it
YouTube.
was funny though. I was watching it and
Gotta say,
we tried to chase it. Ah,
yeah,
it wasn't
we
much.
definitely were. We definitely were. But anyway, yeah, it's
Oh,
crazy. I hope the
yeah.
hawk's okay. I think he is fine. There was maybe one or two feathers on that roof when I finally was able to inch my way off, but I think he's okay.
So I
Hopefully.
get one more last question that is interested to everybody. Usually when they fly or when you fly drones in general, you're a pincher or you're a thumber.
I'm what they call a hybrid, sort of
Or you can do
pinch
both.
thumb. So, and I wish I had my radio down here. That would have been a great idea for me to have it down here for this conversation. But maybe I'll use the smart controller here. So, smart controller, DJI smart controller. So basically, what I do, and we could just pretend this is, an FPV transmitter, and I'm going to screw these thumbsticks in. I was charging this because I have a realty shoot tomorrow morning, so got to make sure I'm ready. So basically, what I do is I put my thumbs on the top of the sticks like a thumber, but then I use support with my index fingers like this, and so it looks like I'm pinching, but really I could do the same exact thing with just my thumbs, but I'm using support, and that helps throttle management, I believe, and just kind of flying a little bit smoother. And some people can, I think even me, I might be able to tell a thumber from a pincher when they're learning. Eventually you get to a proficiency where I don't think you can really tell the difference too much. But for someone starting out, I think thumbers are a little bit more jerky, perhaps. I think if you're supporting with your index finger, you're a little bit more smooth, at least in my experience. Everyone's different, but that's what I found. So what about you?
I am a total thumber because I am a PlayStation player.
Yeah,
So mine's is all like thumbing, like full on thumbs. There's
that's
like
cool.
because I play place I used to play like a lot of PC games like Battlefield Bad Company 2 and all that stuff. You know what I mean?
Uh-huh.
Battlefield 3, 4. And I was Counter Strike. I was huge into Counter Strike back then, doing tournaments and stuff. And everything was mouse and keyboard, and I could just not never see myself doing like
Mm.
FPS games on PlayStation or console. But everything else, Mortal Kombat, uh, racing games like crazy, Need for Speed, GT. So Gran Turismo is one of the games where if you don't use a wheel, you kind of like at a disadvantage. But my brother and me, we got so good in doing it just with the thumbing part because you literally have to be really smooth in the turns. And I mean, there's no really like thing to say, but for drones too, I realized afterwards using this super slide, I'm a thumber, full on
Hmm.
super thumber. Like I have
Well,
tried this pinching stuff, and I was like, no ways, that's never
yeah.
gonna work.
Well, I wonder what would happen if you really got into FPV, and I'd love to connect with you again and see if you, start working with that. Because for me, DJI drones, like with the Mavic, with the smart controller, I definitely thumb. I never, and even with the Phantom 4 Pro, which has longer thumb gimbals or stick gimbals, I should say, control gimbals, and more of a radio that would feel actually, it's an exact shape of a DJI FPV transmitter. I still use thumbs. I've always used thumbs for DJI for camera drones. Something about FPV, I guess, and maybe it's a way for me to keep the two worlds apart in my mind. Because of course, if you're flying FPV, you don't have your stabilization. If you roll, it's just going to keep going. It's not going to stop you. It's not going to auto hover and all this stuff. So perhaps it's a way for me in my mind to keep the two worlds separate. So when I do my hybrid pinching with FPV, I don't do it with GPS assisted drones, and I've thought about that a couple times, and yeah, I think it's easier for me to try to go back and forth. So yeah, if you start doing FPV, I wonder if you would change your style. Maybe
I want that too. I don't know. Maybe.
we'll see.
I mean,
Stay tuned.
you cannot pinch with the PlayStation controller. So,
No, 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 no.
but these ones they're a little bit thicker too. Like the Evo controller, they have these heavy knobs on the top with that I don't know that rough material on the top and on the sides.
Hmm.
So I don't know. I'm just I mean, I might be curious because I've seen radios before, like for RC cars and stuff, and the gimbals are really longer, like and skinnier. So maybe that's the
Hmm.
reason why people pinch. That might be
Yeah.
one of the reasons. No idea. Like I said, I never really tried it. I know there's a couple of guys around here that do like RC planes and stuff, and
Hmm.
I've seen some big buggers with that. I mean, they're huge, some of these planes,
Hmm.
and they fly with those huge gimbals on that, and they have that whole setup with the chain, that lanyard
Hmm.
around their neck, and the huge controls in front of them with a
Oh
screen. And
yeah.
I was
For
like,
sure.
oh, and then I see them pinching and stuff, and I'm like, okay, I guess the pinching is more controllable or not. I have no idea, but
Well, and eventually
still,
you start doing one thing and you can't break yourself away. I have a friend who he was talking with a guy who when my friend was just starting FPV, he was talking with one of his buddies, and his buddy knew a lot more about drones than he did. And his buddy was like, "Yeah, you should try pinching." Well, my friend didn't really understand what he was talking about. And so my friend was starting out, doing PlayStation style like this.
uh-huh.
Well, he took it so literally that he would pick his hands up off and start kind of doing this almost like with a pencil with his hands hovering over the drone or over the radio. And he would have his lanyard hanging down and he was literally holding it like this. And I'm like,
Wow.
how and how? And so he's been doing that for probably 2.5 years, and he's just now starting to force himself to be a little bit different with his hand positioning because we have some new radios. Like there's one TBS Tango 2. It's a new FPV radio transmitter, and it's impossible to hold it like how he is. But it's so ingrained in his mind. He's spent weeks and weeks trying to kind of retrain himself. So I guess my suggestion is when you get a radio like that, make sure you're doing it the right way and learn with some suggestions from others and don't take it too literally. Maybe watch some YouTube videos and see how people are holding the radio. So you learn right the first way and you don't have to relearn some, or teach yourself out of some bad habits.
You've ever watched a video from Mr. Steel, God Mode Activated?
God mode activated. I don't remember that exact one, but I mean, Mr. Steele, I mean, for sure. He's got a lot of awesome videos.
They
Mr.
ended up at a
Steele,
construction site and they're literally going underneath trailers through whatever he does, like a touchdown on that long walkway, goes up, touches backwards with a crane, and I'm like,
I'm watching it right now. Yeah. So that's actually a pretty awesome spot. And it's a pretty popular spot. I wonder if it's looking like that anymore. But for a while there, he was flying that spot quite a bit. Yeah, I've never flown with Steele, but I've spoken with him once or twice. But yeah, that'd be pretty sweet to fly with him or fly with any of these pro pilots who just are
yeah,
amazing to
this
watch.
what they do, what they
Yeah.
pull off with that FPV is insane. I mean, that's the only reason why I probably would try to get into this, that that specific view of camera angles that you can get with that banking and
Mhm.
going through those tiny areas. I mean, everybody can pretty much like just go through tighter spots, but with a GPS quad like this, you will never fly through a basketball ring or, you
Oh
know what I
no,
mean?
you would never crash it. I mean, how many times have you crashed one of your intelligent drones there? Ever?
My Paradigm probably 100 times.
Oh,
Because I
okay.
try.
Wow.
I'm really daredevilish with it.
Okay.
I'm really like I'm lining up the shot super slow, then I back off and I go super fast, and for some reason it lost altitude and then it
Wow.
just was
Okay.
cartwheeling over the grass, and I was like, no.
You might be a great candidate for FPV then, because a lot of the people who have these Mavics and stuff, they're so concerned about crashing it. It's almost like a sin to crash a drone like that. I posted a video or two where I was trying to fly in some trees. And this was before FPV, before I was in FPV. And I was trying to do some of these more acrobatic type maneuvers with a Mavic Pro and ended up smacking into a tree. And people were so upset that I was mistreating a Mavic Pro. And I'm like, it's my Mavic Pro. They're like, you should give me the Mavic Pro if you're treating it so bad. I'm like, come on, I can do what I want. But, it's like, it's almost like it's a sin to be crashing these types of things. And to be honest, they're not designed to be crashed. So, I mean, that's pretty impressive that yours is still alive and kicking after having done that.
It drowned. It drowned twice in the ocean.
Drowned even.
Yeah, once in the ocean and once in my koi pond in the front. Because I was doing a video for with the 360, the 1R, and I put a suji line, the fishing line on it. I wrapped it around the drone, and I wanted to drop the camera in the water because from prior to scene, when my airplane was going into the water, so I wanted to come out of the water with the next scene cutting over where the drone was lifting it out of the water. So now with the suji line being in my hand and I wanted to hand start the drone, I got stuck on the suji line and flipped the drone upside down and it fell right into the pond.
Wow.
Took it out, disassembled it, shook it out, and just left it out there in the open in the hot sun for like 2 hours. Came back, popped the battery back in, poof, and she flew.
Wow. That's great.
Yeah, that drone is insanely strong. Like
happy
it
ending.
survived. Yeah, it survived so many crashes. I had to change out 2 arms. changed out the two motors and stuff. Had to solder them together and stuff.
Okay.
That was all right. But now the gimbal finally gave up. It wouldn't go up and down no more. It just stays in a certain way like this.
Yeah. Well, that's
But
also good. It sounds like you
this
know how
one,
to go ahead. Go ahead.
this one is a different story though. This is hard earned a whole year, and
Right.
I have crashed it once, and it was based on a manufacturing error. So they sent me a brand
Okay.
new one. So that was
Perfect. Perfect. That's awesome. No, I was going to say, you mentioned soldering and replacing things, and that's great that you have a little background in that too, because you're going to have to start doing that with FPV. Doing
yeah.
some
See that?
soldering and some replacement, or just some upgrading. So that's really cool. So you mentioned a drone getting wet. I've had a couple drones get wet, and usually they're FPV drones that it may be spit and rain, but I think it's still okay to fly, or maybe it had just rained, or it's early morning and there's dew in a bush, and I crashed in the bush, and or the grass, and it gets wet. Well, this one time I crashed into a bush, and it was just lightly raining. It was night, and it was the night before a video shoot I had to do the next day. And I had to shoot a wedding the next day. I do wedding videography too. And my drone crashed. It was the lights were on, but it wasn't really responsive. So I unplugged it. I inspected it. It was definitely damp. Shook it a little bit. I thought, well, I mean, I've seen people on the internet, these things survive that. I mean, it might be okay. The worst happened. Maybe I'll blow up something. Like maybe I'll fry something if I plug it in. But I'm willing to give it a shot because I was out there. I was with friends. I'm like, I really want to fly. Let's give it a shot. Let's see. I plug it in, and then not a minute, more like a second, maybe 2 or 3 seconds later, this FPV quad goes, "Wah!" And it takes off out of my hand, and it sliced through my knuckle right here. I have 6 different light scars of the prop cutting through my hand, and then it slams on the ground, and it's just rolling around. It scoots underneath my vehicle, and it's like crazy. It's possessed by a demon or something. Comes out on the other side, and so then I am worried, both my hand because it's bleeding, but also I'm worried that my drone's going to continue to destroy itself. So I step on the drone with my foot and I keep it in one spot, and then my friend was able to come by and unplug the battery. But man, that sucked so bad, and I had to do the shoot the next day with a huge bandage on my hand, and it was just a mixture of bad experiences. But yeah, now it's like if a drone gets wet, I don't touch it. I don't plug it in. I give it a day, maybe 2. I don't play games with water.
Yeah, I had
Unless
this
it's
one.
conformal coated or something. Yeah.
Yeah, I had the first time. This one was I was going underneath one tree. It just finished raining very hard, and I figured, I'm gonna record the flooding and stuff. So I went underneath one tree, and my battery power was like at 25 something percent. So I was like, okay, I can't do this shot because it's only like 40 feet away from me.
Mm-hmm.
And the app decides to return home without me able to cancel it, and it just started while I'm underneath this tree, and it just started going up, and I was like, no, and I kept pressing the button, and it hit the branches, and I guess because of hitting the branches and she flipped upside down, she shuts off everything else. So she just fell into the water. She was upside down, and the person that I just literally recently hooked up with to fly drone with, his girlfriend was there, and she was like, oh, I have no problem, I'm gonna go inside there. So she rolls up her pants and she walks inside the water. It's like freaking 3.5 feet deep. She looks in and she goes, it's right there. The blue light is still on.
Oh, wow.
She takes it out, and I'm like, what? And then I can hear that beeping sound that it makes when it's upside down. And I grab it, I unplug the battery. I left it for 3 days, and I put it into, how it goes, a bag of rice and stuff. Left it in there for 3 days. Tried the battery out. It worked, and I plugged it in for recharge. It recharged. Plugged it into the drone, and she flew. And I was like, whoa,
that's crazy.
This is super good.
This is the future. Man, I can't wait for some underwater drones that can also fly in the air. Oh,
yeah.
So,
Dustin Dunhill has one that does that. It lands on water, and you can look underneath the water, and then it takes off from the water, and it goes.
That's crazy.
I'm
That's
like,
nice.
What?
Well, you can apply silicone conformal coating to an FPV quad to kind of do that, where you're protecting the components. And I did that to one of my quads when I went to Colorado this last winter. as it was snowing. It was a lot of snow, but it was also snowing at the time we wanted to fly, and it was 14 degrees outside, and we were trying to do some FPV stuff. And I ran into a couple different problems. First of all, my FPV goggles kept fogging up because my face was warm, but it's very cold. And then I would take them off, and then the condensation would turn into frost, and I'd be scraping off the frost from the eyepieces. It was a nightmare. Finally, I was able to fly, but yeah, every time I tried to land, I had this little landing pad. It's about this big. And I would sometimes miss it and kind of scoot off it, slide off it into the snow. Otherwise, I would just be flying and it would be little flurries, and I'd be accumulating it. And I have a picture on my Instagram of the drone, and it's just on the inside, it's just caked with snow. But luckily, I was able to, I prior put a silicone conformal coating on it, just brush it on and protect those components. I didn't put it on the video transmitter because that gets hot. And of course, it was really cold outside, so I probably would have been able to get away with it. But either way, I've had some overheating issues with the video transmitter if I put some sort of water protection
Sealant,
on like
whatever.
that.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I did that, and it worked great. So we had a good experience. It was just really cold, and well, maybe you don't know, living in Hawaii, drones don't do well in cold with the batteries. What's the coldest weather? What's the coldest weather that you guys have in Hawaii?
We get blizzards and stuff. We get blizzard
No way.
warnings.
Okay.
Yeah, because
Okay.
I live on the Big Island, so we have a 14,000-foot mountain, and it's like an hour and a half drive to get up there, and you got to be off road 4x4. You got to have this requirement, and it's unfortunately a national park. I tried to get a special license because I wanted to take this bad boy up there and just try to see if it flies in 14,000 feet.
Oh yeah.
And but because there's telescopes and there's a lot of liability and stuff, so probably one of these days I'm just gonna go up there and I'm gonna sneak it in there, and I'm just gonna take off one time, come back down. If I get arrested, oh well, I get arrested, but I got the footage.
Doesn't help. It's also orange. I mean, it's easy to see for the pilot, but it's also easy to see for anybody else with those lights looking through.
So I'm just probably gonna give it a try. There's another mountain, is the Mauna Loa. So that one is, I think, it's like 12,000 or 13,000 feet. So there's another access road to that one, but even that one has a national park. And then there's a third mountain on the other side of the island. I haven't seen if there's any off-roading or whatever that I can do to go over there. But even that one is like 10,000 feet. But of course, the kicker would be 14K. But we have, out of all the climate zones, I think on this island we have 7, because we get like desert, we get tropic, we get deserts, we get all kind of crazy stuff going on.
Perfect. Over there. Yeah. I mean, I guess I'm just showing my ignorance there. I when we went to Colorado, we flew in 12,400. Well, no, 12,000 feet with the Mavic Mini. Didn't fly it with anything else. But the Mavic Mini is actually the lowest rated altitude drone, at least that I have. I mean, I think like the Mavic 2 Pro, Mavic 2 Zoom, I think the original Mavic Pro, they're all rated for higher altitudes than even the Mavic Mini. So we were really just testing it out to see how it would react, how fast it would ascend, how it would be controlled. But when we got up to 12,000 feet, we're up there at Loveland Pass, and it was just so windy, probably 30, 35 mile an hour gusts. And it was all it could do to stay up. It was spinning. It was, losing its center there. It was drifting. Eventually hit Sean's vehicle briefly, and then it was heading for the edge. So we brought it down real quick, because if it had gone over the edge, it would have been gone.
Yeah, gone.
So that was a crazy experience, but it was also cold, and very cold. Up there, it was, I think, was it -2 or was it +2? I think it was -2 degrees Fahrenheit. And yeah, it was just a horrible mix for the drone, but it was a good test. People enjoyed it. A lot of people thought, because when I titled it, I said flying a drone at 12,000 feet. And I knew that was going to be a little bit clickbaity, because I wasn't really flying at 12,000 feet above the ground. We can't do that. It was 12,000 feet above sea level. So it was the same air pressure.
Gets the clicks, right?
Yeah. But there were some people who were like,
I was thinking about the same thing. At 14,000 feet, will it fly? Or something like that around. It's like, yeah, of course it will fly. It's air. You know what I mean?
You'll get a couple dislikes, but I mean, hey, the likes, they're gonna be so sweet.
Yeah. So I just want to show that it's gonna be able, because the air is tremendously thinner. Because I mean, when get snow up there and we go for ride our boogie boards to go down that hill, to get up that hill, I'm huffing and puffing to go up there. I'm like, I'm about to pass out.
You get altitude headaches?
Not so much. I mean, only Hawaiians are that crazy. Going up the mountain, load up the truck with snow and ice, go back to the beach, make snowball matcha.
Oh, okay, there you go. That's awesome. Well, and also you'd probably have to spend a couple, maybe more than a day there or something. I remember when I visited Sean, we were in Dillon and we went up to 12,000 feet. He lives at about 9,000. And that evening, and then the next morning, I was getting, it felt like I kind of had a hangover. It's just like everything felt pressure and I had a headache and popped a few ibuprofen. We were okay. So yeah, it's fun.
Yeah, it's
Do it
definitely
again.
fun. So, I kept you away from whatever you was doing for an hour already, and I appreciate it. Anything else that comes up new in your channel? What's your next project?
Well, I got to finish up this filter video for the Mavic Air 2 and the Osmo Pocket. So I've got them both right here. And what it is, it's an anamorphic filter. So we can get that really wide aspect ratio, kind of more of a cinematic type feel. So that's going to be coming out hopefully tomorrow. I got a copyright notification about an hour ago. I used a song that I thought I was okay to use, and now I
Oh,
got to get permission. I know the artist, and he said he's going to get permission, but he has to get his publisher to okay it, and it might take 24 hours. So it's just a bunch of mess. But either way, that should be up soon. And aside from that, I mean, I want to do more FPV and a lot more of that slow naturescape sort of landscape FPV type stuff, and really make some cool edits, some creative edits, kind of like what you saw with what Flights of the Year by Sam Calder, something like that. Not exactly like that. I can't. I mean, he's amazing, but along the lines of that, I'd love to make some compilation, and yeah, we'll see what happens. So
definitely.
yeah,
But if
thanks.
you ever make it to the Big Island, you hit me up, and I'll
Oh,
hook
for
you up.
sure. I mean, I would love to be there. I've never been to Hawaii. It's always been interesting to me, and I think this is the longest conversation I've had with someone who currently lives in Hawaii. That's awesome. I appreciate that. It's very cool.
Yeah,
Anyway, yeah, thanks for
anytime you
having me
plan
on.
to come over, just let me know. And hey, I appreciate you coming by. I mean, my channel is small. It's probably not the audience that you're used to in a live stream, but hey, they're good guys. You know what I mean? And we always appreciate you having you
Hey,
here.
it's good
So
conversation. It's good topics, and I love your content. I'll be watching more for you in the future as well. So thanks for having me on.
definitely, I appreciate it. Thank you
All
so
right.
much.
See you, everybody. Thank you.
Ed Ricker, guys, Ed Ricker. It's amazing. I mean, he's a great guy. I watch his videos all the time about FPV droning. I know you guys been crazy in the chat inside here, and I haven't been able to follow up on all this writing inside here, and I'm not gonna go through it. We've been in 1 hour already, so let's see what is the latest ones that I've seen in here. I seen Bob Casey, I've seen Jaren, I've seen a lot of people pop in and out the whole time. I appreciate that. I see Drone Worship. What is going, Mr. Ricker? Next time you should do 808 a favor and tell people that you're going to go live on his channel. That way he gets more people. It's not a. It's not so much about. I really like the people that find their ways out themselves. To me, I just try to get people like Ed in here and just talk story. I mean, people are still going to be able to watch the video afterwards. So, it's not so much about the growing for me, to be honest. We are actually past 2,000 subscribers. We are already. I just checked the other day at 2018, I think. So I love it. I mean, it's just the growth that comes with it. I like the community. I like the communication. I like the people that I got to hook up with so far that are really with me on this whole thing. I mean, the whole time I get like 10 people, 9 people, 14 people, 17 people, 20 people watching. And at the end of the week, when I look back into it, because once this live stream is done, I'm going to be looking for the next guest for the next week. If I don't have one, then maybe that random is going to jump in. He's always cool up for it. Or we have whoever wants to jump in. I mean, just shoot me an email. My email address, if you want to come for my live stream, just hit me up. Is right here. And definitely, if you wanna do any of that, just shoot me an email, text me, tell me, hey, can I be your guest next week Saturday? We're gonna be talking about this. I'm down for it. Anytime, guys. Anytime. I'm down for it. So let's see what else we have here. We have Bob Casey, Drone Worship, Dad Random. I just talked about you. So here's a question. Hot Rod said, "What's up, Dad Random?" So we get Hot Rod in Daytona. Here's the question. Where's the question though? Oh, it's coming in later. Marcus from Idaho quadcopter said the one thing he liked about FPV is the speed. Do you think they could put burst mode on GPS drones where you get 70 miles per hour for like 30 seconds? Not quite sure if these motors would handle that. I mean, you see people getting stress cracks on the artillery by using it tremendously because of the heat. And sometimes if I go in ludicrous mode and I cruise around for like 10, 15 minutes and I bring it back down, battery levels going down, just touching it on the side over here, the arm gets really hot, guys, like really hot. So imagine people like Ed Ricker when they have like those FPV things and they go like super fast and for 5, 6 minutes, guaranteed those motors are guaranteed building up some heat, man. See that we could have asked him that too, but I didn't want to take up too much time of his. I mean, he was here for an hour. Edric, a great guy, man. Love it. Emacs ready to fly is a good start. Emacs ready to fly is a good start. Is it? I don't know. Emacs. I don't even know what Emacs is. Sorry. So what else? And here's my advice to you, 808. Always include an email address in every one of your videos. That way companies can reach out to you if they want to for partnership. They actually do because it's under my About Us on my channel, and they actually do send me via that stuff. But yeah, I definitely should put it in the description. That sounds great. It definitely sounds great. So we've been past an hour now. Don't forget the giveaway of that Pheno P27 soundbar is still up. If you want it, go for it. Everything is inside there how to win. After that giveaway, which will be October 10th, is the day that I'm going to be filming how my son is going to pull the winner out of all the entries that are in there. I will be giving away this bad boy, which is the first. This is actually the first version of the lifter, so it's not the current new version. I got this from Pocho on the Loose, who's one of the viewer of my channel. He was so kind to send it to me, so I will be working on a video on that. I'm currently actually working on it already, and I think you're guys gonna like it the way I'm gonna film it. And I also have the Skyfire aerial. The company is gonna send me one more, and I will be giving that one away as well. That will be all afterwards after the Pheno P27, just to share with you guys. I mean, it's items that are sent to me based on recognition for what I do, and what I do is share my experiences. So why not share the objects that come? I mean, the things that come, right? So MX Freestyle 2 and the Tiny Hawk 2 is a great cheap start. Oh, that's Oh, okay. So those ones are drones. Yeah, FPV drones. I mean, I was looking into if I go into FPV, I'm probably going to start right off the bat hardcore. I'm going to get the DJI goggles. I get the DJI controller and probably get me the Mouse Go 5 or maybe even the DJI drone. Who knows? I mean, we're not quite sure about it yet, but we'll figure it out. Until then, don't forget, COVID-19 is still out there to get you guys. So wear your mask, definitely, and wash your hands. Be a nice human. Be nice to each other. There's enough stuff going on outside there. So always be good about it and appreciate what you have. I hope you guys doing all good. And then I appreciate all of you guys coming by. And aloha.